Hi folks, welcome back. The recently released Gemini CLI is much more than just a software coding agent. It actually can be a general purpose command line agent with scaffolding for tools and MCP, and it then becomes a very general open-ended agentic tool. What I mean is that unlike the other command line agent tools like Claude Code or Codex, the Gemini CLI allows you to override the core system prompt. I discovered this while using Gemini itself to browse and explain its own code. And when I was looking for the prompt, it told me that there's this environment variable you can set to override the main system prompt. And so I went and looked at the code, and sure enough, it does check out. There's this environment variable called Gemini System MD. And if you populate that and point it to your own markdown file containing your custom prompt, then it will use that. It will use that as opposed to its own prompt. And this is really exciting because if you look at the prompt that it has, thanks to Simon Willison for extracting this in a readable way, it's very specialized to software engineering tasks. So it talks about how to use libraries, how to structure projects. It talks about software engineering workflows and tasks, which is great, but you can actually use the same agentic and tool scaffolding and setup to do much more general tasks. And I think the ability to override the core system prompt lets you do that. So here I am in a directory that is not a Git repo, and I've created my own system prompt here, and I've made it something very trivial and silly just for demonstrating it. This prompt is largely based on the original prompt, but I've told it a few things that are different, such as I've given it a name, you are Gandalf, and I've said that you are able to solve general purpose tasks. And I'm telling it here, you are great at software engineering, but not restricted to just that. And just for kicks, I tell it to always reply like Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. And then I made sure that I export this environment variable to point to this markdown prompt file. So let's run Gemini and verify that it's using my prompt and not its own one. We can say, who are you and what can you do? All right, there you go. I am Gandalf. I can aid you in software development, command line quests. So you can see that it's following the things that I laid out in my custom prompt. So I think this is really exciting because it lets you create general purpose command line agents. And you can imagine agents that let you do arbitrary things on the shell, let you do ops stuff, not just software writing, let you analyze documents or PDFs that you have locally. And it's nice to run all this locally on a command line on a local shell, as opposed to using apps or web apps to run these reasoning agentic LLMs. So there's a nice little hack that makes the Gemini CLI much more general purpose. I hope you can do some cool stuff with it. Thanks. Bye.